The Italian-American community of Western Massachusetts has a long and vibrant history. Now it's being officially chronicled in the latest book from the Republican newspaper Heritage Book Series. It's titled On Being Italian, and we couldn't think of anybody better than our own Connecting Point correspondent, Carolee McGrath, to speak with the book's authors, Wayne Phaneuf, Romola Rigali, and Joe Carvalho.
If you look at what the Italian-American community has given to the rest of the community, I mean, just take a look at the number of Italian restaurants.
Yeah, I was going to say delicious food. Can we just start there
right.
as an Italian-American?
Yeah.
But I was really fascinated that the first Italian came to America or to this part of Massachusetts in the 1700s. That blew me away.
1815, just during the period of the Napoleonic Wars, and he left Italy, good reason, and then married a Yankee gal, and started a family, so he was the first one. But it really wasn't until about the time of the Civil War where more Italians started to come. The Civil Wars that were happening with Garibaldi in Italy drove some people out. They came to the United States. But then it was the 1870s and 80s where you start to see a regular stream of Italians starting to come and really establishing a community at that point. And so it's amazing how far back people think, well, it's turn of the century. No, really, right. That's 200 years of existence here in Western Mass.
And why would you say Springfield? Like my grandmother went to Brooklyn. They went right to Brooklyn, and then they pretty much stayed in New York City. What drew Italians to Springfield?
I think, Wayne, you can answer that.
Basically, jobs. There was a lot of it's that basic. One family comes, and then they've got a bunch of family left over, or people coming from a specific town. There's a couple of specific towns where there are literally hundreds of people that live in Western Massachusetts that come from Brasigliano.
Brasigliano is one of them, and in fact, we have a little chapter in the book about that. For Westfield, it was Positano. It was all different towns might be associated with different groups. And you're right, it would be, they'd call it a patron. It would be some leader. And in this case, there was an early Albano who brought many people over and then fixed them up with jobs at whether it's the streets engineering, the water department, masonry work, etc. And then there were certain activities. This was during the golden age of Springfield in the late 19th century, early 20th century, we were doing tremendous amount of building. The French Canadians were the house-right carpenters, woodworkers. The Italians were the stone workers. And some of the major edifices in Springfield, those were Italians that did the stonework, all the carvings, etc., and masonry for many of these. And even some of the wealthiest people in Springfield, like D.B. Wesson from Smith & Wesson, had Italian workers doing his stonework. So there are lots of reasons, and Springfield certainly had the jobs, and they came here. But what was remarkable about Italians is that there seems to be a spirit of entrepreneurship where many of them went out and created their own businesses. Mm-hmm. So you see a tremendous amount, we reflect that in the book, of Italians creating their own food businesses, preparation, restaurants, fruit and vegetable, barber shops, shoemakers, and then other things, travel agencies, real estate, when you get into automobiles and so forth, get into their repair businesses, it's remarkable. And it provided jobs for their own community and families. So we reflect that in the book.
And Mimi, and your Romola is
yes.
your proper Italian name.
Yes,
but one thing that you wrote in the book, and I'm joking about it a little bit on the food, but it's true. Food was the earliest instance of blending Italian and New England culture, and that is something that I took right from the book. As an Italian-American, I can tell you, absolutely, it all starts with that meal. Why is that so important?
I don't know, but I grew up with it. We lived with our grandparents who were immigrants from the Lucca region of Italy, and food was always the way that they gathered their friends and family, and the way they showed love. I mean, that's how the Italians show love.
And if you don't eat the food, then you're rude.
You're in trouble.
And you got to eat it before you leave.
and you better have second helpings. So I don't know, it's just part of the culture. That food is almost like art for them. It better taste good, and it always did, even with not always the best ingredients, but they knew how to throw a meal together.
And the truth is, you're always judging when you're going to somebody else's house. Oh, their sauce is not as good as mine. Or right? That's true. It always happens. That's a little secret that I have to tell you. But let's talk a little bit about the South End. And you're talking about food and restaurants. I mean, the South End and the history of that in Springfield is so special to so many.
Yeah, and we were lucky to be able to have a lot of archival photos that Jimmy Langone let us use, because he's kind of the keeper of the photography of the South End for the last 100+ years, and it's incredible what a tight-knit community it was, and I mean, and it really was tight-knit up until the time they decided to put this major highway right through the middle of the South End, which at that time, for years and years, people that lived in the South End had a little plot of land. A lot of people had a little plot of land over in Agawam where they used to grow their vegetables. And then all of a sudden, that was the place where they were going to be building their houses because they got displaced by the building of I-91, which really kind of went right through the heart of it. And literally hundreds and hundreds of families were displaced at that point.
And when you talk about the South End too, and also in the book you talk about this as a very important component, is the faith part. And of course Mount Carmel is in the South End. I mean, I have so many friends. I mean, that was the church of their family forever. How important is that faith component in this book in particular? Well,
it's a major thing. It's all the major points of your life, from your baptism, confirmation, your marriage, all the major events were there, but also the church is a regular feature of their life, and the various clubs that were associated with the women's groups, the sports groups that they supported, the men's groups, and then of course all the major festivals tended to be around the church, which included parades and then food, and then it was a way to celebrate it, and also really the community to realize what a sort of powerful force the Italian community had become, because you'd see the numbers at those festivals, you say, wow, that's quite a community. And that was part of and you still see that, and people still, even though they've moved away at some of the festivals, they come back for that moment. But they're really, in those early years, there were really thousands of people would come and be part of that. Part of what kind of came out of that experience too, we talk about food that starts to reach out to the larger community in a major cultural way. Food was important. The church festivals, food was part of that too. The entrepreneurship, where they're starting new restaurants and creating, their food vendors, etc. And then they built companies like the Windsor Spaghetti Company, etc. Corando, and specialty material. That the rest of the community fell in love with Italian food. And very quickly, and remarkably so, within 20 years, by the 1940s, Italian food became a major feature in Western Massachusetts. That was a special moment to go to an Italian restaurant, which didn't really happen with other groups. That just shows how that culture was expressed into the larger community.
This is a very, very exciting book, especially for me. I take this book personally, and I want a cannoli. That's what I want right now. After having this conversation, I want to have a cannoli. Wayne, Mimi, and Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.